Jump spot's coming in.
Go for it.
Going in the bush.
No one in here. Chased it. Fucking meathead. So annoying.
Hit his armor through the wall.
Through the wall?
Through the wall. Airstrike me.
Like 3 there.
Yeah, he's 3 there.
Down one.
You got 2 from that team in a solo.
Yep. I just got looked at. Left. Clutch for the.
Right behind me. Right behind me. Right on me. Right here. Right side gas. Right on me. Right on me. Lightning. Was on the left shooting him. Only one bird. Fades. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jumped off. Jump.
I fucking. Why? Dude, I'm gonna break.
He had it throwing.
I'm missing my snipes. There's 3 on me though. They're not very good. Nice.
Done 1.
You're gonna be kind of close.
2.
Okay, no. Gonna head up that way and then I'll pop when I get further.
I'm just gonna throw mine.
One landing back. And he's
Oh, that's a lot of Jurassic. Put it on that wide mark. Just prone. Close on me, lower too. Cluster on our head.
Oh, oh boy.
Wait, we're fine.
Yeah, you think so?
You're good.
Yep.
Oh, multiple guys.
Yeah, 2 on boxes. Down 1. Nice.
Nice.
Armor in the car. Bunch of armored car.
Shooting at someone
PERK
up.
armor.
Side from the left. Side from the left. It's not looking good.
You got 2 people. 2 pushing you. 2 pushing you. 2 pushing you.
Lower press
Nice.
2. Jump up.
Let's go, Matt. It's your first 30.
Yeah, just play.
Guys on me. One more.
Jump if you push that game.
Go for res.
Here, I'm going left.
Fuck! There's multiple. Guys out of this truck.
Right here, Matt. Right here. Broken. Get him. Yes.
Bro, what is happening?
More play with spread edge.
Down him. Can you get that clean up there? There's a
Yeah.
snipe looking.
There's the wall. Keeping it up.
Still a snipe in the gully, I think.
Looking at me. Nice.
The
Finish it. No.
Yeah, right.
No.
41. Let's fucking go, baby. Come on.
Let's go. Yo, huge game. Huge game. 30 bomb for you. Let's go. Yo, 30, 2017. Now, TTK, that time to kill, that is probably one of the most important stats that you want to consider when building out your weapon loadouts for Warzone. Starting from the top down here, starting at number 10, we end up having the XM4, which has a close range TTK and goes all the way out to 20 plus meters of 583 milliseconds. And that kicks us off with a nice little benchmark because everything that you see from here on out is going to have better time to kill, faster time to kill than things like the MAC-10, the FFAR, the AK-74U, the LC-10, the FARA, ISO, and so many other weapons. So when you consider that, these are absolutely some big ticket weapons you want to at least try and consider whenever going into close quarters gunfights. That XM4 though, at 583 clocks in at number 10, but is a weapon that packs some punch, obviously. You can kit it out now to make it a little bit more snappier with things like the sound suppressor and the adjustments made to that. And truth be told, this is one that I've run as a secondary weapon for quite some time. It can absolutely pack a punch, taking that 5.56 ammo, but using it in a much more closer situation. Personally, for me, when I kit this out, I end up running the regular suppressor for that added benefit recently of the sound suppression, ADS speed, bullet velocity, and sprint to fire speed, the task force barrel, the microflex LED, just because I'm not a huge fan of the iron sights of the XM4, the 45 round speed mag, and the serpent grip. This is going to be fantastic for you if you're playing close quarters, and you'll be able to get the job done. Next, at number 9, just barely beating out the XM4, is that of the MP7 MP7, and this is only for close quarters here, in which upwards of 10 meters here with this, it still beats out the XM4, but after that, it does tail off. But the MP7 from Modern Warfare is one that is actually still a melt machine up close. This, all the way since the start of Warzone, has been the case just because of that fire rate. It might not have the best damage output, but because of that fire rate mixed with the damage properties it has, you can absolutely melt through enemies up close. For that, I'd end up recommending the Monolith Suppressor, the FSS Recon Barrel, Tac Laser. I usually run the Merc foregrip just for some added hip-fire accuracy because that's important in close quarters, and then the 60-round mag as well, so you end up having more ammunition to work with. After that, we end up seeing the RAM is one that is consistently better than the MP7 and the XM4, that having a TTK outwards of 20 plus meters of 561 milliseconds. The RAM is one of those weapons that is very interesting. It's much more suited for PC play. It's much harder to control on controller, but for that, I normally run the Monolith Suppressor, the FSS Ranger Barrel, the 3x optic, the Commando foregrip, and the 50-round mag. After that, we end up having the Bullfrog, which comes in at a TTK of upwards of 15 meters at 559 milliseconds. After that, it then drops off hard, so you really want to use this for close quarters. As always with SMGs though, you don't really want to be challenging too far of distances, but the Bullfrog is a weapon that is incredibly mobile, and for those that love to run and gun and rush, it's a good choice here. Is it the best right now? I wouldn't say so, but it's still solid. For that, I'd normally be running the Sound Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight for added speed and mobility, the KGB Skeletal Stock, and then to close it out, the Bruiser Grip to add some more movement speed and hip-fire accuracy. After that, we end up seeing that there is one that is a straight-up pistol, one that is still pretty solid, but again, tails off pretty hard, though not as hard as the Bullfrog, interestingly. After that, we end up having the Psychov in the full auto format, coming in with a TTK upwards of 10 meters of 551 milliseconds, and then from 10 to 20 plus is still a good 620 milliseconds. That's incredible for a pistol. The Psychov is one that you can run Restock or Ghost right off the rip if you do decide to run this and use that only as your close quarters, but it's one that is, again, a pistol, so you might not pack as much a punch unless you're in that close quarter situation. For that, I usually run the Monolithic Suppressor. Then, of course, you do need that auto barrel of the Sorokin 140mm auto. Then I run the 5mW laser, the VLK Elita for that recoil control, and then also the 80-round drum mag, just so you have enough to challenge a gunfight or two. But that rounds out the bottom 5 of the top 10 here in terms of TTK weapons. But before we jump into the top 5, I want to take a second to let you guys know about today's sponsor, Z-League. So here's the thing. You probably see all this marketing for all these major tournaments that CDL teams and content creators put on for cash prizes of like $100,000 and other crazy prize pools. That's a ton of cash, but players like you and I, not only one, do those exclusive invites somehow elude our inboxes, but also I fully recognize I'm nowhere near that skill level and the caliber of those players to be putting on a show, dropping constant 25 to 30 bombs in a chase for placement. That's where Z-League comes in though, because if you want a chance to win some prizes and cash, but also want to play within your own defined skill range, that's where they excel. Z-League is a new platform that takes competition to a new level. It's a skill-based platform that keeps the competition reasonable, built on the fundamental idea that everyone deserves a shot at some prize money. Z-League had a former Google engineer build an algorithm that uses your Warzone stats that ranks teams into divisions so that you're only competing against teams of similar skill calibers. Scoring for tournaments works similar to the big ones that you'll see and may be familiar with in nature if you watched any of these tournaments before. Kills and placements determine your point totals, and what's nice is that you don't have to be live streaming or submitting screenshots to admins or anything. They have a live scoring webpage that tracks your team in real time, so whether you're on PC or console, the stage is set for an easy-to-use competitive platform. Currently, Z-League is hosting free-to-enter and paid-to-enter tournaments, so if you're passionate about Warzone and want to feel that thrill of competing, make sure to check out Z-League by checking the link in the description below and registering for some upcoming tournaments. A big thank you once again to Z-League for sponsoring today's video. But after that, we end up jumping to the number 5 spot here at this, that being the PPSH. Coming in with a TTK upwards of 20 meters of 529 milliseconds and only jumping slightly to 595 after 20, it starts out the top 5 pretty solid. This being introduced with this last season has become quickly one of my favorite weapons to use within Warzone. It can absolutely pack a punch, that fire rate is insane, and of course with the option to add a 71 round drum mag, you can absolutely take out 2 to 3 enemies, even in quads. So it is definitely something you can work with on all levels. For this, I usually end up running the Sound Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, Spetsnaz PKM stock, and the 71 round drum mag. This being a bit more of a mobile weapon and one of the ones that I will push enemies enemies with. So it's phenomenal, and I definitely say give it a try. After that, we're going to jump over to another rifle as a secondary, that being the Cold War AK-47. This has a close range TTK upwards of 20 meters of 500 milliseconds flat, roughly moving up to about 600 after 20. So still incredibly fast, and it's one that absolutely packs a punch. Now, if you end up kitting this out to be mobile, it is something that is phenomenal. Personally, I've played around a lot with the build of the suppressor, the Spetsnaz RPK barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, 45 round magazine, and Serpent grip, though you can change one of those out to end up adding in an optic like the Microflex LED, which honestly I may suggest. The iron sights aren't that great with the AK-47, so it may be better with that optic equipped, but it is a phenomenal weapon to take as a secondary, as strange as that may sound. After that, at number 3, we end up having another Cold War weapon, this one though being the fastest killing SMG up close, that being the Cold War MP5. Now, this is one that is incredibly situational because, as with the Modern Warfare MP5, the TTK drops off incredibly hard after 10 meters and then gets to be something where it's not as comparable in close quarters among a handful of different weapons. But in that 0 to 10 meter range, either point blank or just slightly outside of it, it has a TTK of 492 milliseconds. One of only 3 weapons that will break that 500 mark within Warzone. For this, I normally run the sound suppressor, the Task Force barrel for that added strafe speed and bullet velocity, the Tiger Team Spotlight for movement and aim walking movement speed, the 50 round drum mag so you have that extra ammo, and then the Serpent grip for that better ADS time, though you can sacrifice the Task Force barrel for something like, say, the Bruiser grip to add even more movement and hip fire accuracy, but that's entirely optional and is more so preference based. But that is the best SMG you're going to find in close quarters. Now, interestingly enough, number 2 here is actually the best weapon all around in close quarters, and if it's not for a formality, which you'll see in number 1, would be the best weapon and the fastest TTK out of all weapons within Warzone, that being the AS Val. Another rifle taking this, but one that is very situational, very niche, and one that absolutely packs a punch. Now, the AS Val is a weapon that has incredible damage properties, but is severely hindered in a lot of different aspects because it only has a 30 round mag as the highest amount of ammo you can end up getting. So for that reason, as we've talked about many a times within Warzone videos, this is probably something you can absolutely run within solos, maybe duos. Quads or something like that, it's not as advantageous, though you absolutely can, but you're going to shred through your enemies. You just need to be conscious of that ammo. For this, I normally run the OSA barrel, the TAC laser, the Straylock stock, the Ranger foregrip for that recoil control and aiming stability. You're going to need it. And then the 30 round mags, of course, so that you end up getting as much ammunition as possible in this, and you can take out 1 or 2 people to full kills. Now, I talked about how number 1 is a formality. This beats the AS Val by a whopping total of 8 milliseconds, but outside of the 10 meter range drops off to below the AS Val, though still competes with the MP5 in close quarters, the Cold War AK in close quarters, but it's not as good. So it is one that maybe has an asterisk on it, but statistically speaking, the Akimbo M19 pistols from Modern Warfare have a TTK upwards of 10 meters of 399 milliseconds. So you kit that out, you end up making it something that you can absolutely shred through your enemies with, and they're not going to stand a chance up in that very close and personal range. The only problem though is, again, it is then up to hipfire RNG bloom, so you got to get some luck with those shots, but if you do, you're a force to be reckoned with. Would I suggest running this on classes? Not quite, because there's not many situations where you're going to be only within 10 meters of a player, and these other weapons we talked about do have incredible damage properties and TTK values, even outwards to some mid-range engagements. So technically speaking, this is the best weapon setup for close quarters, but all around, it might not be something that may be as advantageous as the stats on paper may seem. But that's the top 10 weapons here in terms of TTK values for close quarters engagements, and that's what you want to be running here within Warzone. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this here? Are you guys liking any weapon in particular? Do you use any of these? Do you see how powerful they are in close quarters? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone and anything COD related. We'll keep you the day with absolutely anything. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get connected outside of YouTube, practice on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But that's it. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.